Hi guys! So now we're back with the pie crust that is chilled out and it's ready to be rolled out. And so we're going to divide it in half quickly like this. And then we're going to be generous with the flour when we roll it out. We're going to see, hopefully, this will work. When you use alternative flour, it tends to be a little more crumbly than traditional flour. So we may end up just pushing it in with our hands. But if I don't, actually it's rolling all right. It is rolling all right. Let's see how it comes out when we get it in the plate. Beginning to crack a little bit. Okay, we need a little more flour on top. Just kind of keep brushing the flour over it as you roll it out. And that'll keep it from sticking to the rolling pin. I'm using a marble rolling pin, which you can also pop in the freezer, and that will help you keep your dough chilled, which is good because when it gets too warm, the butter melts, and we don't want that. So now we're going to transfer our dough to our pie plate. Where is my bench scrape? There it is. And I really should have floured my counter a little bit better because this is starting to stick. But the nice thing about pie crust is it's very forgiving. You know, it rips. That's okay. That's okay. We're just going to separate it from the counter and unroll and just patch it together in the plate. And no one will know. Well, actually, everyone will know because this is on video. But if this wasn't on video, no one would know. Which is the nice thing about pie crust, is it's very forgiving, and once it's the thickness that you want, you see, we can just kind of push it in to the plate here. I am a little concerned about getting the top of this pie on right now, but you know, maybe we'll do kind of like a rustic lattice or something. And that way, it won't matter if it's a little broken up. This is melting quite quickly on me. And as you can see, it does look a little bit patchworked, but it also is forming itself back together quite nicely, which is another thing that we can appreciate about pie crust, whether it's regular pie crust or gluten-free like this one. And there you have a mostly intact pie crust on the inside of your plate. You want to make sure you've got just a little bit of overlap here at the top so that you can crimp and seal your pie up. And once we get these last little scraps of dough on here, we're going to fill the crust. So just take your bowl and tip your fruit right in. Who doesn't love a nice full pie? Okay, so now that the fruit is in, I'm going to wash my hands really quickly and move this pie up a little bit. And then we are going to roll out the top crust. And let's hope this goes a little better than the bottom crust does. So we're going to use a very generous amount of flour here. Let's take our dough, another large pinch of flour, and let's give it a go. Let's see how we do. The other nice thing about a marble rolling pin is it's nice and heavy, so you don't have to push down on it very much. The rolling pin will kind of do it for you. Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good, actually. Okay. This looks like it's almost big enough for this pie. So we're gonna try again. And we're gonna try and be really gentle with it, because you saw what happened last time and it split on me as I was trying to pick it up. And that is again the problem with alternative flour, because even though it's short crust pastry, a little bit of gluten builds up. And that helps hold the dough together. See, not bad. We actually did a lot better this time getting it in one whole piece than we did the last time. I mean, it's not quite one whole piece, but it is much more together than the bottom crust was, because I didn't roll this quite as thin as I did the other one. And you know what? We'll call it a rustic pie. You know, if you egg wash it and you crimp the sides, you put a few slits in the top and give it a nice design, it's a pie. It's supposed to be homemade and kind of rustic looking. It's not as though we were doing some patisserie over here where it needed to really be perfect. And I actually think this sort of darker brown whole wheat look will go well with the autumn olives, because they'll be nice and bright and red, and it'll be sort of a very fall colored pie. All right, so we're just finishing crimping along the edges here, and I'm gonna use up all the dough that I've got because we don't want to waste. And then I also am not one of those people who will save dough in the freezer in little balls and then make one crust later, although you can certainly do that if you don't want kind of a higher crimp along the edge. I like a nice high crimp, so I'm happy to just build up as much as is necessary in order to get it so that we don't have any leftover scraps of dough. And actually, apart from the color, this doesn't look too much different than a regular pie with regular gluten all-purpose flour that I would normally do. So I'm actually kind of excited about that. And the dough feels very similar really, other than it's a little bit stickier and it's a little bit more crumbly. So now that this is done, we're just going to egg wash it really quick. So I'm going to take one egg and crack it in this bowl, and then add in just a smidge of water. You want to give this a quick whisk until the yolk and the white and the water are all incorporated into one homogeneous color. Okay. And then we're going to brush it on the top. But before we do that, we're going to take our trusty sheet pan and cover it in tin foil really quick. Because if you've ever made a pie before, you'll know that the filling has a tendency to burst out of the pie onto the plate and then onto the floor of the oven. And that makes for a lot of burnt sugar and a very sticky mess that is rather hard to clean up. And so, if you bake your pie on a baking sheet that you line with aluminum foil, all of that wonderful juicy pie goodness goes onto the aluminum foil sheet, and you don't have as much cleanup to do. And we like that, because when you're on your own, you have to do all the cleanup yourself. So why make more work for yourself? All right, so we're going to brush the top, and then we're going to do a little design or some writing on the top, because you need to make some air, some holes in here to let the steam out. And it will also allow you to see when the filling is bubbling. And that's how you know the inside of the pie is done, because the inside will be bubbling out of the top, and it creates these almost like witch's cauldron kind of spooky bubbles with the sugar syrup. And another thing that I'm remembering now, if you did not mix your butter in with your fruit earlier, you will have wanted to have put that in before you put the top crust of the pie on, so that it's nice and mixed in to the filling. And the reason that I put it in with the fruit when it's macerating is because this is about the time that I remember to put in the butter. And it's really inconvenient to try and take the top off or to smush the butter in at this point. So try and remember to put it in when you're doing the fruit. And if not, you can put it in now. Like, nothing really bad is going to happen, but it's just easier if you remember to do it beforehand. Okay. So now that's done, and I'm going to take a paring knife, and I had a crack here, so I'm just going to let the crust kind of be cracked there, and that way no one will know that it was cracked in the first place. And we're going to do some fun little wave lines, I think, on this pie. That's kind of what I'm feeling. You know, you do whatever design you like, or you could write happy fall, or your name, or springtime, or wintertime. You know, I write like happy 4th of July when I do the pie for that, or, you know, whatever floats your boat. Just want some holes in there so that the steam can escape. And now the pie is going into a nice hot 400-degree oven for about an hour and a half to 2 hours until it bubbles, and we will check on that later.